Hello and welcome to uFactory. uFactory is a factory puzzle and management game from Lucid Silence Games and available on Steam Early Access. In one game mode, the scenarios, the player must design a factory in a limited space that can process some input materials into a defined output. In another game mode, the campaign, which is still under development, the player takes on additional management role. Money, transportation, and raw material sourcing are all necessary components, as well as the well-designed factory layout component. In this feature series, we're going to first take a look at a couple of the tutorials before moving into the scenarios and then finishing up with the campaign sandbox map, which is the only completed portion of the campaign. But first, we have to define our corporation. CEO, your name. Well, that's Wally. Let's do a factory company name. I think we're just gonna be lazy here and call it Wally's YouTube Factory. And so WY, we'll do YTF. Primary color is of course going to be some form of green here because, well, it's me, and I think I'll keep that also for the secondary color. I'm not sure how these, maybe a little bit yellower, a little more towards yellow, that is. And then the accent color here, I think I'll go with like a gold looking color, maybe, something like that. And you can allow or not allow Lucid Silence, the developer, to collect anonymous play data to help improve uFactory. Since I'm providing this game today, or playing this game today on a key provided from Lucid Silence, I'm going to go ahead and leave that on, and we'll create our profile. So now we have our company, and here we can go through, among other things, there's the patch notes here for the most recent patch, possibly some even more distant patches. Yeah, I think it's at least the most recent patch, as well as of course buttons to get to all the socials, some credits here, which indicates who are the people who have contributed to the game. It's written in Unity, and as well as we can go into some of the settings. A lot of the standard settings are here. This is where the brand colors come into play, at least so far, is things like these. Of course, graphics here. I'm taking all the default settings here. I suppose I could probably handle going a little bit with actually, we could go crisp and sharp on the shadow quality, things like that, but let's leave it alone. It'll be fine. Of course, I've messed with the sound settings a little bit here, and I think it's okay. I may tweak it during the recording, but it's a little lower than my voice, so that's kind of where it should be. Network settings, this is the sending anonymous gameplay data, and then we can also reset the preferences and reset stats and achievements. So let's take a look first at those tutorials, as I mentioned. Some of these tutorials are optional. Some of the tutorials are not yet available. And as you can see, there's like tutorial 3 is missing. And then 6 and 7 aren't available yet. And then there's these additional plumbing tutorials that aren't yet available either. So the developer's actively working on this. This is a solo developer effort. So it's one of those kind of games that, you know, it may take a little while, but you're getting the developer's vision without any cloudiness in it because it's only one developer. So players new to the factory building genre are recommended to play all tutorials, primary and optional. Veterans of the genre are recommended to play only primary tutorials and figure out the rest through experimentation. So we're going to go ahead and do tutorial 0 here, and tutorial T0-00. Welcome to uFactory. These tutorials are meant to quickly introduce you to the user interface and primary concepts of the game. Plow on and you'll be managing a production line like a boss in no time. Okay, so the in-game day and time are displayed on the top right. You can use the buttons here to speed up or pause time. You can press the space bar to pause or unpause at any time. There's also a simulate time button that allows you to disable rendering and simulate your factory as fast as your CPU can handle. This is really handy later on. Not so much in the tutorials, but in the scenarios we'll take a look at a little bit later. These stars represent your objectives to complete within the time allotted. Smaller stars are optional objectives. To the right, you will see your current objective, followed by your current cash in bank. So click on this. Here you can see all of your objectives, how close you are to reaching them, and your overall score. This is also where you'll go to submit your factory for completion to the end of the level, excuse me. So you need to export more than 10 red rubber balls and more than 10 blue rubber balls. Camera controls, WSD of course, and then Q and E put us there. Zoom with the scroll wheel, or you can Alt and with the mouse, which I found to be kind of clunky. There is one other keyboard shortcut that's very useful, and that's holding down Shift while doing QE, which gives you a 15-degree movement instead of a 90 degree movement, which is really handy when you're trying to figure out exactly how to position something in some of the more advanced scenarios. Tutorial 5 or page 5. Great. Now let's take a look. Now let's look at how to set up a production line. In your workspace, you'll see 2 machines already placed. The material importer has a green output arrow. Oops, excuse me on that one. Has a green output arrow here, pointing into the work area, and the material exporter has an orange input area pointing out of the work area. So we click on the material importer, and its import queue is up to 9,999 blue balls, and on the right lane, 9,999 red balls. Now, left lane and right lane, these are kind of like what you have in Factorio, where the belt is divided into 2 lanes, and you can take advantage of that just as you would in games like Factorio to have 2 items going in parallel. You can split them, which we'll do in a little while, and you can use them however you want, kind of thing. Split them, recombine them, all that kind of stuff. And then of course here we need to have blue rubber balls coming out the left lane and red rubber balls coming out the right lane, which of course is the same order they are in here. And that's where this tutorial is kind of going to become very simple, because we need to get the rubber balls from the importer to the exporter, and we need to build a conveyor belt in order to do that. We need to do that with a straight conveyor belt. R will rotate the machine or the object that you're trying to place, which is pretty standard, R for rotate. And then you can click drag to put a whole line down like that. You can also put down a whole, like a box area like this, which doesn't make sense really for this, but that's another option as well. And I just escaped because I don't know if you can do another way to cancel what I just was trying to demonstrate. So now that we have placed them, we'll unpause the game, and we're in slow mode right now, or slow playback mode, and you can see that the blue rubber balls and the rubber balls are coming along the conveyor on each of their lanes and going to the material outputter. Great, check your objectives and complete the mission with what you've learned. You should also familiarize yourself with the other tools at your disposal. The destruction tool allows you to, which is this right here, remove and sell machines you place, but your machines devalue over time, so you may not get back as much as you paid for them. The move and rotate tool allows you to change the position or orientation of existing machines for free. The copy tool allows you to clone a machine or belt with all of its settings. And the empty belt tool here, which there's also a copy configuration tool, which only copies the configuration from one machine to the next. And then there's an empty belt tool, which will remove all resources from conveyor belts. And then of course there's the time controls up here to pause and play the simulation. So you completed the objectives. We need to click on the objective stars here, and then we submit the factory for inspection. As you can see, we let it run, so we exported 73 or 74 each, and we received an A+ rating for our factory, which one would hope so. You can keep playing any tutorial in a sandbox mode if you want to mess with it in some way, but once you submit your factory for approval, otherwise you can move on to the next scenario or return to the main menu. I think I'm going to skip these. We kind of intuitively understand how corners work, and we'll get into that anyway with these. Splitters and filters are actually kind of an interesting thing in this, so I think we're going to try and play this tutorial. Now, there was a bug that was causing this to force you to play the next tutorial no matter what, but they fixed it, which is great. So in this tutorial, we're going to cover lane handling with a few important advanced conveyor belt types. First, let's use the T-splitter to separate 2 lanes of a product into 2 completely separate belts. Remember, you can use the middle mouse button or the R key to rotate placed objects. So here we have an importer that is importing blue rubber balls on the left and red rubber balls on the right, and we need to output blue rubber balls into either the left or right lane on this one, and red rubber balls into either the left or right lane on that one. So the game wants us to put down a T-splitter. There's also a belt lane splitter here. We're going to put down the T-splitter though, and we need to rotate it, which is a little hard to see with that ghost there. That's just part of the way the tutorial works. And then we're going to run this simulation, and you can probably already see what's going to happen. It's not liking the fact that there are the wrong things are going in the wrong direction. So we need to demolish this straight belt here. And then we need to replace it with a filter belt. And that's the third option here. And then we'll unpause. So if we click on the filter belt right now, it has no idea what it's going to encounter. So we can unpause the game and let it run. And then we need to set the filter belt to either filter the blue balls to the right or the red balls to the left. We can choose whichever one we want to do, and I'm going to pause just for the configuration. But we need to basically swap the position of the red and blue balls. And that's what we can do here. So we want the blue... I wish you could move these windows. That's one thing that I would like to have. We want the blue ones to come out on the right, or the red ones to come out on the left. So we're going to say that we want to allow blue rubber balls to be filtered and to go out the right lane. And you can see that that filter splitter is, or that filter... conveyor belt filter is automatically basically swapping those because it's taking everything that comes into it and it's saying if they're blue rubber balls, push them out the right lane, and if everything else, push to the left lane. And then we're going to talk about the lane splitter. So let's put a T-splitter here. There we go. So this one's going to output green balls on the left, and then the right is nothing. And then we want to have green balls going onto both of those. So we place the T-splitter, and we'll unpause that. And we only have green balls coming in one spot. And by default, when they reach this T-splitter, of course, they're only going to go to the left, and we need them to go in both directions. So we're going to demolish this, and then we're going to use the conveyor splitter here, and this will automatically put one item from each side, or one item, alternating items on each side. That's the word what's the words I wanted to use. And that's going to, of course, get us our green balls on both sides. And then, let's see, we need to export 50 of each. So we're going to let this run, and actually we can kick the speed up a little bit, just to save ourselves a little bit of time. And we'll see these stars actually light up as each one is satisfied, or it's just going to do it on its own. Great. There we go. So we exported just over 50 of each, and the game ended on its own. And of course, we got another A+ rating. Let's return to the main menu and into the tutorial menu again. Bridges are fairly simple. I can just explain these. Basically, it's just a bridge that can go under or over a belt, so you can make belts crisscross. I don't think we need to play through that one to talk about it. It's pretty obvious, and we may use one again a little bit later. But mechanical arms are the next important thing, because we need to be able to put these items into machines to process them, as I mentioned during the introduction. So let's go ahead and start this tutorial. After conveyors, mechanical arms are the most useful machine in any they are the most useful machine in any factory is the mechanical. Oh boy. After conveyors, the next most useful machine in any factory is the mechanical arm. Almost every machine in your factory will need to interact with a mechanical arm, as they cannot be direct fed to or from the conveyor belts. Choose a mechanical arm. Okay. Place the mechanical arm here next to the importer, so rotating this around makes good sense. And Shift R will do the reverse rotation. What do you call that? Counterclockwise or anti-clockwise? It'll reverse the rotation there. Mechanical arms allow you to move materials from conveyor belts to machines and vice versa. Our material importer is bringing in hematite ore, and we can't see it here. So we need to build a mineral grinder from the iron smelting category of the build menu. Let's go here. We have iron smelting machines here, and we need a mineral grinder. We're going to put that here. And then we need to assign the job to this. So a lot of machines you have to actually go in and basically pick the recipe. We want to turn 4 hematite ore into 4 iron oxide dust. So we're going to start that process. And then we need to play. Nice. See how the mechanical arm moves the hematite ore into the grinder? Now the grinder will turn that into hematite dust, which can be used to smelt iron. To smelt though, we need some fuel to burn. Our material importer also has some coal, so let's use that. Note that the arrows and the mechanical arms need to line up with the machines they are delivering from or to. However, there's no such requirements for conveyor belts. They can deliver from or to either lane on a belt going in any direction. So it wants us to place mechanical arm here. And this is going to pull the coal off. So we're going to filter it so that it only picks coal. And then we need to build a conveyor belt so that the arm can put the coal onto the conveyor belt. So we're just going to do a simple straight belt and go there. And then we need to combine the ingredients to get the goal of iron ingots. To figure out how to do this, let's check our manual. So we'll hit tab for the manual, or to pull this up, and then we're going to look up iron ingots, which we can type in here. And we can see that it's a solid state of matter, chemical notation, melting point, liquid phase, not a source of fuel. It's produced by a metal smelter, and then it's an ingredient for metal plate pressers. So we need a metal smelter. We need to build a metal smelter and use mechanical arms to provide it with both hematite dust from the grinder and coal from the importer. Then with the resulting iron ingots to the material exporter. And then we can press tab to close the thing here, and it'll remember our page if we want to come back to it later. So remember, when working with mechanical arms and machines, the machines will only input or output in the directions their arrows indicate. Most will not accept ingredients from the sides. However, the mechanical arms can deliver from or to any lane in a belt going any direction. So when setting up production lines, you should also pay careful attention to the status screens on every machine. If it's red, especially if it's blinking, it means something is wrong. You can click on any machine to get detail about what they're spending their time doing to help identify problems or tune your factory's efficiency. Check your objectives and use the skills you've learned to complete them. One possible layout is shown to the right here, but you can complete it however you like. Good luck. So let's click this just to show. We can't show because it's hidden behind the layout here. There's a graph here, a pie chart, and it shows you what % of the time is being spent in different tasks. Just click OK to that. We can always open this back up if we want. Actually, I can show you this pie chart. So right now it's been actively waiting on user for a large percentage of the time, and actively running for another smaller percentage of time. And so I like this idea. This is kind of the plan that I would use myself. So I'm going to use this, and I'm not going to actually look at it very much. So we want to have belts coming out this way. We need to have one space here for a mechanical arm, and then we want to bring these this way, and we're going to merge them onto the belts in the same way you do in other games like Factorio, where you just say, hey, let's merge them, just sideload them onto the belt. It works the exact same way, which is really nice. And then we want to put in a mechanical arm here to unload that iron oxide dust onto the belt. And then we need to build a metal smelter, which I think I'm going to build here. And let's do 2 more belts here, and then we'll do a few belts there to finish it up. Here it's going to grab the inputs we need. We need to smelt iron. This needs iron oxide dust and a unit of fuel to make 1 iron ingot. And so we're going to get the iron oxide dust from here onto this belt. It's going to side load onto this one, so it only goes into this left lane if you're oriented like the lane, like the thing is here. And then the coal, because we filtered it here to only allow coal, the coal's going to be loaded onto this belt and then side loaded into the right lane here. And then this mechanical arm will grab both as needed for the machine it's connected to. They're smart enough to know where they're going. And then this arm is going to grab those finished iron ingots from the smelter and put them onto the belt and dump them out into the right and left lanes. Whichever one, it doesn't matter. We need to export an average of 25 iron ingots per day. Oh, and by the way, you can actually control which lane your mechanical arm drops onto if you'd like when it's going onto a belt. This one is left-right, and this one here is far-near, which is really nice. You can really control that, and I could limit it so that we didn't have double on the belts like this, but I'm not that worried about it. So let's go ahead and start our factory up and make sure we did everything correctly, which we could also look at from here. And I pretty much duplicated exactly that. I did it slightly different, but it's close enough. So we have iron oxide dust coming in here, and we have coal coming in here. Now you can see that it's working. It takes 2 seconds to cycle through, and then we just got, well done, keep the iron ingots flowing to complete our objective. So we can see here that it was waiting an input for a while, and it was actively running for a while, and we can actually even reset this graph so that we can make sure that it's actively running as much as possible now that we have materials being provided to it. That's the important part. Just to kind of look at numbers, in order to make 4 iron oxide dust, it takes 8 seconds. And we can also see that somewhere else. Info? Yeah. Grind. Where is it? Oh, grind hematite. There it is right there. Oh, yeah. Grind hematite. 4 hematite becomes 4 iron oxide every 8 seconds. Tab again. So, and this needs 1 every 2 seconds. Smelt iron every 2 seconds. Needs 1 every 2 seconds. So that's a perfect ratio. 1-to-1 ratio then. 1 every 2 seconds. And you can tell that by the fact that this is running constantly. Oops, I pressed the wrong button. Whereas this one is waiting on users sometimes, although it might just have been because it was not a reset graph in it, so it was waiting on me to do something or other in the game itself. So it looks like everything's working properly. We are currently outputting 19 per day, and hopefully that number is going to go up as it's like a sliding 24-hour period that we're looking at here. Let's actually kick the speed up, and we can actually see this number increasing as predicted. So we have exported an average of 25 iron ingots per day, and of course got ourselves an A+ on that. And I think we want to continue with a couple of more tutorials here. The plumbing tutorial is another layer. So we've been working in the sort of physical layer of the game all along, but there is a liquid layer too. So you can click on, we've been here in the factory layer or the physical layer. We can click on the fluid layer here, and there's also a third layer for gases, I think. Perfect. The orange and green rings you see in the liquid overlay mode are called pipe adapters. And you can see those here if I scroll around a little bit. Pipe adapters are how your factory machines interface with the liquid pipe network. Green adapters are for output and will pump liquids into the pipe network. Orange adapters are intake and will draw liquid from the pipe network. If it's pure and matches the requested type, liquids flow and mix freely through any connected pipes. So we have another category here for pipes, and then we can pick liquid pipes or liquid bridge pipes, liquid density filters, and liquid buffer tanks. We're just going to pick the regular pipes, and then you just literally drag the pipes to connect the connectors, which is really easy to do. Excellent. Remember, liquid will flow in any direction that's connected, so make sure you don't mix pipes. Let the factory run and export a few water bottles to wrap this tutorial up. So let's go back up into the physical layer. That just opens up, that last message. Let's unpause. And so you can see there are empty water bottles coming in here on both sides. Those are getting picked up by these bottle fillers running a fill water bottle job or recipe. And they're picking up empty water bottles, and they're picking up gallons of water from... Actually, let's do it from here. From this liquid import tank, importing gallons of water, which are connected there via those pipes. So we have these two machines running in parallel, and then we are dropping those onto this belt here, which is side loading onto the right side. And here we have on the left side water bottle caps coming in. These machines are bottle cappers, and they pick up a bottle and a cap, and they do whatever with it. So they're doing that, and they were waiting on input for a while because it took a minute for everything to get staged up here. And then they're outputting the bottled water. Now this Nope, never mind. I thought they were outputting on opposite sides of the belt, but they're actually not. Interesting. Oh, it's just timing. Okay, that's funny. All right, so that's outputting, and our goal here is 50 bottles of water, which shouldn't take very long because we've already gotten 14 without doing a whole lot of effort. And by the way, the green is all because I chose green as my color, as far as I am aware. I don't know where the gold that I chose. Maybe it's the connectors on the arms and stuff. I'm not sure where that's being used, but that might be it. And if I had chosen 2 different colors, that might have been a better idea, just so I could show the different colors being used here in the factory. But I didn't. And there's our 50. Right, and we just succeeded that one. So you can see some of these tutorials are fairly quick, and some of them are a bit longer, or at least a bit more involved to do. And I think we should look at. We can look at creating. The serialization tutorial is actually broken. During my test game, I found that out, and I spoke with the developer, and the developer confirmed that tutorial is actually broken. But we can go ahead and look at the creating, because that's an important thing too for several of the scenarios that we're going to take a look at soon. Most of the time when you export a product, you need to crate it up in bulk pallets for your suppliers. When you see an exporter with a low conveyor belt like this, that's a crate exporter. Build a mechanical arm to place your product, iron in this case, into a crate loader that will spawn crates you can fill and export. The crate will automatically close and move along when it's full, if it's directly connected to a crate conveyor belt. Note, crates have their own special lower conveyor belt type. They can't go on regular 2-lane belts. So it gives us here a design that we might want to use. It's pretty straightforward, and actually it's different than what's proposed here, which is kind of funny. Maybe it's just 2 examples of something you can do. So let's go ahead and just do some belts here. And then we're going to want to have a crate loading station. That'll go here. And then we need to have a mechanical arm, of course. And then I need 1 more belt. I thought so, but I wanted to make sure. So the mechanical arm is going to grab the iron ingots coming in out of this along the belt. Grab those. And then it's going to drop them into this crate loading station. The crate loading station can either load small crates, which have a space of 25 and give us a 5% full crate bonus to our output, or maybe it's to the money. I don't know which it's for. Or we can do a large crate which has a space of 100 and gives us a 10% full crate bonus. Let's I think we can actually just go ahead and animate this. And here they come. And actually, I'm going to put it up to medium speed just so we can work our way through it. And so we need to export 100 iron ingots for this, which is 4 crates, basically. You can see them loading up. Wait, why is it only filling 12 when it's 25? Interesting. Maybe an iron ingot takes up 2 spaces? Interesting. So we exported 108 because the first time a multiple 12 is over 100 is 108. That's 9 times 12, I think. So that's why we got that. And of course we got our A+ rating again. And as I mentioned, we cannot do tutorial 5. So what I'd like to do instead is go into a new game. And here we have the choice, as I mentioned at the beginning, of standalone scenarios or the campaign. The campaign right now is only a sandbox, and we're going to take a look at that in the second half of the next episode, I think. But we're going to take a look at a couple of scenarios just to kind of talk about some of the other aspects of the game that we need to understand. And one of those is what was covered in tutorial 5, serialization. And since we can't do it in tutorial 5, I want to do it in this scenario. Child's play. We need to prove ourselves before the banks will give us a big enough loan to buy a proper factory. This contract to carve and paint some toy blocks looks simple enough. It's a 2-parter. First, we need to cut and carve up unpainted blocks and export some of those. Then we can feed them into painting machines, along with paint, of course, to make painted toy blocks. So let's start the scenario. And of course it starts paused as always. And we have a very, very large factory here. In this we have the choice to pick our products. We do not have to accept what they give us, or accept the way they're defined. We can pick which one we want on which spot. And I think for the design I want to eventually get, it doesn't actually matter which one's which. But we're going to build this as if I haven't actually built this already once, just so that I can talk through a couple of these serialization concepts for this scenario. So I'm going to build a conveyor belt here, just one. And then I want to have a mechanical arm here. And then we need to look at the toy block machines. So here we have a sawmill, we have a CAD laser cutter, and we have a spray painter. And we can now put anything we want to either lane, it doesn't matter. But we need to have at least 700 unpainted toy blocks per day, and at least 500 painted toy blocks per day at the same time. This isn't one and then the other, it's both at the same time. And then we can optionally more than double that if we want to. So we're going to do at least a little bit of this, and then I think we're going to finish this up in the second episode. But we want to start, of course, with how do we make the toy blocks. So let's tab, and we're going to go here to toy block, and we want unpainted toy blocks to start with. Unpainted toy blocks are produced by the sawmill, where we cut the toy blocks. But we also need to use a CAD laser cutter to carve the faces, and this is part of what I didn't entirely understand about this, which is why we're going to build this in pieces. They're calling the same the item that is made by the sawmill the same as the item that is carved by the CAD laser cutter, or yeah, carved, I guess it's called carved, so carved, which is an interesting design of the game or something. You can see that it's already unpaused. Oops. So let's build a sawmill here, and I want to just take those items from the sawmill and I'll put them onto a belt. It just runs the length of the factory here. And actually, I want to use a different thing. I want to use this belt path thing, and this belt path will allow me to drag the whole belt, I believe correctly. And not what I wanted. Let's destroy that last one, and let's put in a specific curve here. This is the tutorial we skipped, by the way, are the left and right turns. And then you can also have a two-way conveyor belt, which is kind of interesting too. U-turns as well, and another two-way, which I'm not sure what the difference between the A and the B. I guess it's just the opposite directions. Yeah, and then the opposite U-turn. Okay, so we have a conveyor belt path here that is complete, and we're going to put that there. Also, another mechanical arm. We want to cut toy blocks. It needs one wood log, and it's going to output 24 unpainted toy blocks. So let's go ahead and start that process and unpause the game. The mechanical arm is, of course, only going to grab the wood logs because it knows that the sawmill will only accept those, and it knows what it's connected to. And you can see that this is unloading those blocks onto the belt that I built. And these blocks are still called an unpainted toy block. They just have not been carved yet. And I didn't realize that there was kind of a difference at first. So I did this way, and we're going to see what it comes out to be as the first step. And you can see they're not being counted, which is what was interesting to me. And I think what I'd like to say is there's got to be a better way to describe that as the same item, even though it's not, kind of thing. So what we need to do is change this so that we can use a CAD laser cutter to carve the faces of those blocks correctly. So I want to do this. I'm going to put this CAD laser cutter right next to that mechanical arm. It's going to hopefully grab from the sawmill and put it into the laser cutter, and then we need another mechanical arm to put those blocks onto the belt. Let's unpause, and yes, it's adding them in, and of course there's a buffer here an input buffer where you can have extra stored. And this is a very, very slow process. And the reason it's a very, very slow process is because of this retool. And you can see it here in the graph. There's this retooling. It's performing, I guess I can click this and show. There's 6 different faces on a block, of course, on one of these cubes. And you can see that even, you know, here on one of these unfinished ones, you can see that there are 6 things here. And that wasn't well explained either. But eventually I figured out that I need the CAD thing to carve the faces, and it doesn't seem to be doing it quite reliably at this point, which is interesting. Like this mechanical arm is grabbing them too early. And I'm not sure why that is, but eventually this machine will carve all 6 faces one at a time, and then the mechanical arm should grab that carved block and output it onto the belt where it has all 6 faces carved. And this one does. You can see they're all white. So that's the ideal situation here with the way this works. But as you can see, this is very, very slow. And you can also see here that there are all those steps that are that should be broken apart. So what I want to do next is redo this whole thing. So let's first of all, let's pause and let's divide up these CAD machines so we have one CAD machine for each step, one of all 6 steps. And to do that, we want to remove some more belts. I don't know how many, so I'm just going to remove a bunch. And then we want to have another CAD laser cutter, space for a let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, one more belt to delete. Room for mechanical arm between each laser cutter, and then of course one at the end to add to the belt. And then for each one of these laser cutters, we want to just select one face, which I assume probably makes sense to most viewers, but it's kind of an interesting concept that's not explained yet, at least in the available playable tutorials. Hopefully that one that's broken right now will explain this better. I think it will, based on what I saw of it before I got to the broken step. But you saw that passed it up really quick, one cube. That's because those faces had all already been carved on that cube. So now it only had to do these last 2 before it puts it out onto the thing. So that means that now, once the laser cutter gets itself tooled to the correct step, it doesn't have to retool. It can just do its own step, its own individual step, and it can carve that face, and then that face can get passed to the next one, and then passed to the next one, and so on. I think that if we click through all of these and we reset all the usage graphs, they will all show basically a full usage, because this should get fully saturated, I guess is the best word to use. So they're always working, they're always outputting. Even this last one, it did have a little bit of input buffer weight there, but that's fine, I think. And you can see that these are all, in fact, carved. Now let's turn the speed up, and actually I'm going to go to maximum speed just because these are a relatively slow process here. And we can see that we are now producing quite a few, and the number is rapidly increasing on the daily average. And actually this is where I want to stop this episode, and we're going to pick this up in the next episode where we take a look at, well, how do we keep this going to hopefully get up to 700 per day, and then also make 500 painted blocks per day. So thank you all for joining me. Thanks again to the developer. I just lost the name, sorry. The developer, Lucid Silence Games, for providing me with the key to play this for you today. And we will be back again in the next episode to take a look at the additional steps that we can take in this scenario to make all the items we need, and possibly even make the optional objectives as well. Thank you all for coming, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.